Hello, I am Pam, and this is my channel, Made by Pam. So I don't have my chair here because I'm going to do a lot of standing today. So today I'm doing a sew along. So first steps, we're going to cut out the fabric. So we have Simplicity 8855, and we're going to be making that view. So it has the upper and then like that. Oh, have so much fun, Joni. I hope you have fun at Hobby Lobby. So I have my pieces. I basically, when I do my pattern pieces, I take the tissue paper and then I trace out the pieces. It's almost like sew-in interfacing. And I just use it to trace out my pieces. Okay, great. That's awesome. Oh, I better turn myself on live chat and I'm pretty sure I wouldn't miss any messages, but I just got to make sure. And I guess I should turn on my phone so when I have my screen tilted down, I'll be able to see it. Like last night, I cleaned off my table. You want to see? So I have like the whole table is clean. I even have to the edge where I have my stuff, but my whole table is clean. Hi, June. Hi, Rose. Oh, I'm so glad. I love this pattern. So, I actually made Joni 2 of this pattern, but this is the pattern. I'm wearing it, the overalls, and sometimes with the pattern, I like to make the straps the longer piece. So let me show you the strap piece that it says to use for the one. Oh, that's the long strap. So this is the strap piece. It's a shorter strap that they have for the view I'm making. And I don't like how short the straps are because sometimes my body changes. And if I don't have any space to change my button, how can I change where the position is going to hit me? And I know these straps are a little bit long. So these straps are a little bit long. I have my button up here and I have my strap right here. Usually I'll take and I'll fold up the strap when they're a little bit long so they're not hanging as much. With this, I did not, and I still could. And I love using different kinds of buttons for my overalls. Now, I like these because these are the knit overalls. And so there's no other buttons but the buttons up here. And you don't have to use buttons. You can use like the little suspender things. Let me show you. I have a package over here I can show you. I just don't really think that they're needed for a knit overall. Like I have a whole package of them. So these things, you can use these as part of your overalls. I just prefer not to. But you can. Oh, my arms itch a little bit. I think because they're a little bit dry. Okay. So I don't know if you guys have your pattern ready. Like if you've cut out your pattern. Now, if you don't, think about like they're knit overalls. So you don't need to really think, hi Clint, You don't really need to think about like so much your waist. Now my waist, my belly sticks out a little bit. And I've had 6 kids. And I have come to the realization that I have to be okay with that. That I have to be okay with, having a little bit of I call it a mommy pouch, I guess. And I'm 45. So the body changes. And I'm not going to be a skinny mini. Like the rest of me is a skinny mini. My torso, my midsection is not so much. I'm still small. But I don't have the 26-inch waist that most patterns call for. So I am making a size 12. Oh, buttons are awesome. So they do have, I'm making a size 12. Now on the size 12, it says for a size 12 is a 26.5-inch waist. No. Look at the hip measurement, 36. Okay, so my hips are small. And my waist is about the same as my hips, or maybe a little bit bigger. So, like, here's the hips. Now, I know some people measure their butt too when they measure. So it's like 36. Like my hips and my bones, it's just 36. And then we go up to the stomach, it's 35. And then get up a little, like that was down the belly button. We get up a little bit higher where it has that little bit of a curve. It's 34. A little bit higher under the bust, like my under bust is 33. And then my bust is like 36. Oh, and then you want to know, I'm just going to give you all my measurements, okay? And then the top is 35 or 34.5. So like the upper, because you have to do the upper too, like under the armpits. Upper bust is like, they actually like, because sometimes you don't want to be fully deflated. You want to like make sure you're breathing. So you have room. It's like a 34. So gives you an idea of my measurements of what I work with. So what I'm getting to is you look at the waist measurement. On this pattern, if you went with the waist measurement, and let's say you're a 36 waist, you would be making like a size 20, and then your hips would be 44. You don't need that big. So go with your hip measurement. Measure your hips, because with the knit overalls, your pants, this part right here has to go up over the hips. So this is going to be the size that has to go up over. And most people's hips are not a lot smaller than their waist. So you're going to be okay if you go with just your hip measurement. Okay? Now, if you need to make adjustments, now this pattern, this one only goes up to a size 14. I do have the other pattern that is a 14 through the 22, and I cut like straight out of the tissue. I cut the size 14 and I made it up. I still wear the pants occasionally, but I'm always fiddling with it and like fiddling and trying to like, because I know they're too big. These ones are perfect. So, and then these ones, the fabric is a little bit thinner, so I did line the inner part of my fabric with another fabric, like I have part of it here. Now this one I did not like So maybe I'll do this one the same way I did this one with the lining. Because this one I just placed the piece on top and then I treated it as one piece of fabric type thing. So we can do that also. Or I could treat it so that if I wanted to, I could flip it around and wear it the other way. But I'm not going to do that. All right. So I was going to turn on my phone and switch this around so I'll be able to read chat on my phone. Okay. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit here. I got out my pieces. So what I'm going to cut first, because if I end up not having enough fabric, I can put a different I can use a different fabric for other pieces. Like with the pants I'm wearing, this fabric, I have this blue fabric. I use that. I also use it on the inside of the bib, and I used it for the facing of the pocket. Because I think I only had 4 yards of this fabric, and I made Joni, my friend, a pair. So I have my pattern pieces. We have a front and a back. And so that's what we're going to start with. I'm going to move my lining fabric off because we are kind of technically going to be making 2 pairs and smushing them together. And get this centered here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I cleared off my table. Usually I'm working with like this much space, like an over and just kind of finagling. I cleared off my table so I have a lot more room. Hi, Billy. So glad to see you here. Hi, Cheryl. So when you're laying down your fabric, you want to make sure that you're know where your selvage is. Like the selvage is the length that they're cutting. So you have your cut edge here and then you have your length here.
Hi.
Hey, what's going on? I
woke up with Sir in my room.
Oh, yeah, because I let Sir out of his room. Because he was awake.
With Sir trying to eat my crazy sandwich.
Oh, well, go put this by the printer. I don't have any way to charge it down here. That was my 10-year-old. They just woke up. I was hoping they would all sleep a little bit longer. But they didn't. It's a Saturday. Man, kids these days. I'm just kidding. I love my kids. Thanks, Rose. Now, my table, I have like a 6-foot like table underneath. It's like a Lifetime table that my sister gave me. That was a little bit beat up. It had some wear and tear and had seen some use. But it wasn't, it's like a plastic Lifetime table. And so it wasn't even on the table. It had like some indents and stuff, and it was just starting to wear out. Well, I took some OSB board. I had to think of the right terminology here. I took some OSB board, so it's like the pressed wood together. It's almost like plywood, but it's the other wood that they use for building stuff. So I took that and I cut it to size and I placed it on my table, and then I picked up the like the package of the cutting mats that you piece together. Now, usually they have the little, like the little things that you would screw on the ends. Well, what I did is I put tape on the bottom side to keep them together. So I have some duct tape. And then I have this. And this I had because I accidentally got this hot. And so it kind of warped this edge. And so I like switched around my cutting mat. So this edge wasn't on this side. Because this edge I don't use quite as much. And I've contemplated going and getting a replacement mat. But these mats are expensive. They're like $100. And I just wasn't ready to buy another mat. So I use what I have. Now, if I found one at a thrift store, heck yeah, I would scoop that one right up. Because I know how expensive they are. That's why I have so much stuff, is because I go to thrift stores. I gotta move that bag because it's going right into my mic. I gotta move my mouse so it doesn't get in my way. All right. Gotta move this up a little bit. I want to get as much length as I can. So we have the selvage here. This is my selvage. And so we have the fabric folded over. And I know this fabric is a little bit odd. It's like an old-timey fabric. But I saw it at the thrift store. I think it was like $5. And I like instantly fell in love with it. And I know that's odd, seriously. But it had to come home with me because I could just picture a pair of overalls. So I've made sure I've kept out this fabric in anticipation of making overalls. And yeah, so I've got my pants layout. I hope you guys, yeah, you can see it okay because I'm looking at my phone and I can see that you can see it on my fabric. So when you're doing this, you also want to have a ruler. Now, you don't have to have a ruler like this. This isn't like my quilting ruler, but it is like such a lifesaver. Now, I line up the edge on the selvage, and then I'm just going to tweak it a little bit and make sure that my line that I have marked down the center, my like grain line thing that it has you mark, that's on all the patterns. You make sure that that is straight. So these pieces are straight. Now that they're straight, I don't usually use pins when I'm cutting out my patterns. I have these pattern weights. Now, they're really not pattern weights. They are a flat washer, 3/4 inch, and it's a 25 pack. So I like to, and I got those from Home Depot. Because it provides enough weight on my fabric. Now I have smaller ones that sometimes I have to layer, and because they're just not heavy enough. What I need to do is like piece them together and like cover them in something. Because I was at a yard sale and found like a coil of like little washers like this, but they're really thin and they're really light, and some of them are a lot lighter than the others, so they're not consistent. But before I move my ruler, and sometimes I like to press out, like kind of use my washers to go along, like from the center to the outside, just because it helps press the pattern in the fabric so that it's like not all bunched up in the middle. Because you don't want the pattern or the fabric to be bunched up when you're doing this. Okay, now I'm going to move my roller, and I'm just going to move it down a little bit and make sure that these are still lined up where they need to be. Because sometimes you do have to make a little bit of adjustments further down the line. And that was this case because they weren't quite lined up. Like they were lined up here, but sometimes your pattern can get scrumptious and not be lined up on the bottom part. So I hope I'm making sense. I am a talker. I do like to chat. I am also a quiet crafter sometimes. Like if you watch me with, like if we're streaming with friends, I'm quiet in those because I don't want to step on anyone's toes, and I have a hard time speaking up. But when I'm by myself and I'm talking to people, I just like to chat. Guess I should make sure I can see this. All right, bye, Joni. Have a wonderful time. Get lots of good stuff. And tell me all about it. All right. So, I have that all lined up. And then sometimes, since I still have space down below, I'm going to take my other pattern pieces and we're going to play with them and see what we can squeeze in where. Like, see this pocket piece? That doesn't quite fit there, so that will go down there. This piece needs to go on the fold, so that's going to go there. This is a leg band. That's going to go over there. This is a strap. Now, I know this strap is awfully long compared to the other strap. See, with this, I can actually, like, move this up into, like, where the, like, I don't know if you can really see, but there is part of the end of the leg here and this, so it overlaps so much. So I can kind of move that up, and so it kind of just overlaps a little bit because I have to cut that piece on the fold. Now I have 2 boxes of these pattern weight things. And I have pretty much exhausted both boxes. And sometimes I'll take one off the other thing if I need one. All right. So with this, we have, like, you don't have to make the strap so long. It's your choice on how long you want to make your strap. Like this, I have a lot of extra. So if I wanted to take and just like kind of fold this, because I like using this strap piece over this strap piece, I would still have a whole bunch. Because I like to have excess. I like to have the excess straps. Oh, that's great. More. I mean, Rose. I was saying your last name. I'm sorry. I love this table. And it's my everything craft table. So I craft in everything on this table. And sometimes that makes it a little more difficult when doing things because I have to clean it off before I can cut out another pattern. But it all works out. So I could probably like not set any more pattern pieces out. I could possibly just cut out my pieces and then lay the next thing down. So that's probably what I'll do, just so that I get the most out of what I have here. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay. I'm going to move my excess pieces off of here for a moment, just so that they're out of the way. Put my ruler away. And then I need my cutters. Hope I'm not boring you guys too much. I'm trying to keep a conversation going. So when I cut this out, being that I just used the weights, I use a rotary cutter. I don't usually pin. Now I have in the past pinned my pattern pieces down to my fabric, but then you have to unpin it all, and that's not always fun. This one has probably about had it. Because it kept skipping fibers, like little strings. Okay. So this one says to cut 2 on fold for the bib part. But the bib part, like we're doing a lining fabric also. So the bib part is going to be part of what I'm going to line the legs with. I'm going to have as the inside of the bib part. Well, this piece is cut out. Now, once I do cut it out, sometimes I will just take a pin and I will take and pin that piece together. So I have my first piece cut out, and this is the back portion. You can't even see because I don't have you moved up. So the back portion of your pants, like this part here, that's the piece that I just cut out. That's number 3, the bib back. I should have had my chair out so I could lay my pieces on it. I'm going to grab my chair from behind my magic curtain here, and I'll make lots of noise because I need my chair to put my pieces on. All right, so now I'm going to cut out piece number 8. It's the back. So the back is like this fat portion of your pants. So go ahead and scan you down so you can watch as I cut that out. Now I probably could have laid this out different. Probably what they say on the back of the things probably shows a whole different layout. That would be more, I guess, fabric saving. I don't know. I just know sometimes if I can lay out the pieces, you know, and I probably could have tried to like pattern match the little lines and stuff that are here. I probably could have tried to pattern match it a little bit so as it's going along, because it does have that pattern as it goes along, like the legs and stuff and the front. It could be pattern matched so that it just looks continuous. But I'm not going to be that picky. Maybe I'll regret it later. I don't know. Trying to think where I want to put my scrap. And I do like to keep my scraps. I don't just like automatically throw my offcuts into the trash because that's just kind of wasteful. Like, if I can use it for something else, like one time I used my fabric scraps. I just took one of my bags that had a bunch of scraps in it, cut it up into teeny tiny pieces, and stuffed it in a toy, you know, that I made. So this piece, I know what I forgot to do. Okay, sorry guys. I forgot to make my snippets as my scissors fall out of my holder here. Alright, I forgot to make my little snippets. But you can't forget to make your snippets. These snippets are very important. Now, I just have little, like, triangles drawn, and then I just cut into this, like, to the point of the triangle. So I just have a little snippet. And I like to use these scissors because it has the curved edge. And these just work really well. I don't like to use, like when I'm doing stuff like this, I don't like to use the ones that have the really pointy edge. But I like to use the ones that, these small ones. Because then I can put it where it needs to be. And I know that that's where it's just going to snip to. Because I've got a really good snip at the end. Because these little markings help tell you where those need to be placed. Like where you need to place your other pattern piece. It indicates where it needs to be. Now I also do have little like dots and stuff here too. And show you the markings. So they have the little dots on the fabric. Like they have little dots. They're like for the placement of part of the pieces. Oh, these dots right here on the back. These are for the pocket placement. So you have a pocket on the back of your pants. And that's if you're adding a pocket. That's where the top edge of that pocket is going to go. So gotta decide what marker I want to use. Yeah, I said marker. I have these friction pens and markers. So I have a friction pen here. So how I mark these, like I take a pin, little pin, and I'll just stick it through the center of that dot. And then I fold down the thing. I see the center where the pin has gone through, and I just do a little dot. And usually it is on the back side of the fabric. So that you're not going to see it on the outside. Because you can line up your stuff and then put it, and it'll line up just fine just doing it from the one side. And it did not bleed through the other side on this, so we're good there. And I think that was the only markings on this piece I needed to do. And I have my notches trimmed. And I didn't turn my phone on silent so I don't get those notifications. Oh, good. Hi, Sherry. So glad to see you here. All right, so now we're going to cut out this next piece here. Now, sometimes when I'm cutting stuff out, I'll actually climb on top of my table to cut it out, depending on what I'm cutting and like the position. Just a little thing, because sometimes it's hard to cut things out because I'm short. And depending on what I'm cutting out, it's just easier to stand up on the table to do it. Like, I'll get up on my table to reach stuff that I have up on the shelf up there. And I'm not worried about my table collapsing because I know it's a strong table. Oh, I bet, Sherry. I guess I'm really blessed that I have the thrift stores that I have. I know there's some people, they don't have good thrift stores around. All right, so like we did before, we're just going to take and mark the dots. Now this dot will help, like with it just folding, so that you get the folds where they need to be. Okay, I got those marked. So we just cut out like the leg band, number 10. I don't know why I set that piece over there. It goes on my chair. Okay. This is actually smart, and I closed my blade. I don't always do that. It's not the smartest thing to not always close your blade. There we go. Yeah, I was gonna watch your other video you have up, your bra video, and I just haven't gotten to that yet. See, as you see, I'm like up on my table, and because it just gives me a better way to do this, because this table is like 35 inches wide. And it's hard to reach all the way across there to get that other section sometimes. It's just the way I do it. Because I don't want to have to like move my fabric all the way. And I didn't quite get that curve. No, I think that'll be okay. That curve doesn't have to be like 100% on. Okay. I got that snip. Now there is a snip on the bottom of the leg piece for the front piece, because that's going to kind of help you line up your cuff later on. Those clips. And there's a clip on the top of the waistband. You have 2 clips on the back portion of the back curve. Well, actually, it's like your front curve, I guess. No, that's your pocket. No, that's the front curve. And then this is your pocket piece. Sometimes where these join together, the rotary cutter doesn't always get those cut like you may want. I do see one little dot here. Okay. I'm going to put my pin through this little dot. Go ahead and mark it. Now this is just kind of going to show us like part of the placement for the pocket, for the front pockets and the facing. Oh, and then there was this one right here. Oh, do you need a link for Clint's channel, Sherry? I'll send you a link real quick. I'll go ahead and put in Clint's link. There's Clint's link. Hi, Dixie. So glad to have you here. So I finally got my Friday sews up yesterday. And I decided that I was going to buckle down and get this done. I have spent way too much time not sewing anything. See, now I only have a little bit of fabric left to work with. Put that there. Then sometimes when I have things, I can sometimes use pieces of the scraps for other parts. I'm going to try to see what I can get cut out of this. So I have this length here. That's why I'm going to try to cut out the strap. Because it says to cut out, well, you need to cut out 4 strap. No, only 2 strap pieces for this one. Because this one folds in half when you cut it out. So you just need 2 strap pieces. As I mentioned, you do have like the standard strap piece that they tell you to use for the view that we're doing, which I am doing view A. But I don't like how snug using the shorter straps makes the overalls. And if I'm feeling a little, like, bodies change, so sometimes you want to be able to adjust the strap. Well, you can't really do that if you use the shorter strap. So with this strap piece, I'm just going to kind of line it up with like the lines that are on the fabric. Because that's how the pattern's going, and I can see it's kind of, it's so how the selvage is. So I'm just going to line it up on that line. Since I no longer have the selvage on the other edge to fully like measure out my cut. All right, bye, Sherry. Thanks for stopping by. All right, so if you do end up cutting the longer straps, you can always cut off a little excess if they're like way too long. You don't have to keep them as long as they are. I just like the added length. And there has been times where I've like, you know what, that's way too long, and I just cut off the excess and then fold it up. It's like you're the one making your clothes. So you can control. You don't have to follow all the instructions that are on a pattern. And that's the way I like to look at it, because I don't like to follow every single instruction. And this, you can mark that, but I really don't need to. That right there is just the, for like the buttons, right? Yeah. because it says adjustable. I am going to mark these bottom, which I really don't need to do that either because I really don't follow where they put the straps, because I don't like their placement of the straps on the back side of the pattern, on the back where they hook up. I don't like their placement. But for some, their placement might be good. I just don't like the way where they placed it. Because if you see on the pattern here, how they have them sticking out like the side. Well, I like to have mine that stick out just going out the top. But I'm a smaller frame too. So having it going out the top portion of that back piece is better for me than going out the sides. But you do you. You know, you're the one making your clothes. So you can decide how you want your final product to be. And that's what I love about making my own clothes, is that I get to choose. Like, say I'm making something and, well, like my collar blocked corduroy overalls. I took those and I used a different type of different colored corduroy for each section. Now I do have a couple different pocket choices. So it has a couple different pocket choices. You have the circular pocket, and granted this one says it's for the pocket on the front. So you have like two bib pocket choices. And then this says this is a pocket for the back. Well, you don't have to fully follow that. Because the pockets are pretty much almost the same size. Like this would be your back pocket. Well, if you decide you want your back pocket to be curved and not pointed, and even your front pocket, like on your front pocket you have this, if you want it just to be curved and not pointed, because some people don't want them pointed. Same with the back pocket. Some people don't want it pointed. Some people just want a curve, and this one is just a curve. So this is the only pocket piece I am going to need for this. You can change it up. So these pocket pieces, since I don't need to cut those. Now for the bib pockets, it says to cut out one piece. Well, I like to cut out two. I like to have a lining of my top pocket. So I don't know if you can see that, but I like to line it like with the same fabric. Same with the back pockets, I just do the one per piece. But the front pocket I think works better lined, just because it does have a lot more pressure going with it, I guess. So I like to use my pocket on my bib for my phone. And then my back pockets, I don't generally use my back pockets. I really don't even need a back pocket, but I put it on there anyways. And then I have my front pockets, which my front pockets, you know, I usually always have a little key in my pocket, but that's only because I lock up my sewing room door and I have to have the key to unlock it. So for this pocket, I'm going to have to cut it out twice. on with the double fabric. But first, we're going to take and we're going to cut out this front bib part. And as I mentioned before, we're just going to cut out the one of this fabric. Because you would cut two on the fold. But as I mentioned, we are going to use the other fabric as part of that. And so the other fabric will be the inside lining of this fabric. Okay. And if you guys have any questions of what I'm doing, I'm trying to explain as I go. Go ahead and pop them in the chat. I'll try to answer what I can. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. And doing this live is actually so much easier than trying to record it and figure out what I could say to somebody and then editing later because, you know, just the way it is. This way, when I'm done, it can just go straight uploaded. It's there for everyone to see and read all the comments. So I don't need those top two lines because that's where you would sew it in. This line this dot right here is like the button dot. And then this dot right here is the pocket placement dot. And these dots right here are just dots that you're going to line up together as you're sewing the sides together. And then we have a little notch down here. Whoops. I was just marking that on the outside of the fabric. Shame. Like this is like, for here, this is just going to be a buttonhole. Oh, thanks, Dixie. I'm trying. And this dot right here is for the pocket placement. So like the top portion of the pocket. I don't know why I pulled out so many pins. Okay. So we've got this. We've got piece number 1 cut. Now we have our pocket facings. Try to decide like what's the best use of this piece of fabric is going to be. I think this is the best use to kind of place it that way. Technology is great, isn't it, Dixie? Being able to zoom you in so you can see. So I'll finish cutting out these pockets. I'm going to say, Now those other two pocket pieces to cut out too, but we'll get to those in a minute. Now the good part about the lining is you don't have to cut out as many pieces. Now that's only if you're lining it. I kind of want to line mine because it's cold. And I want that fuzzy little layer on the inside. It's kind of where I won't want to take them off. I like that extra layer sometimes. Okay, so we got that piece cut, but we still have to cut out 2 more pieces. So this can be our front pocket piece that's going to go up. Like, yes, there's 2 here. But as I mentioned, I like to have it the top pocket layered. So I'll just set that piece down there for now, and then we'll take over here and line it up. And so this line here, I can just set it against that line there and kind of use that straight edge that I just cut. And then that's less waste. All right, bye, Rose. Thanks for stopping by. Okay. And so I'll probably have a little bit of this fabric left. Maybe this year I should actually keep like an actual sewing journal and like put samples of the fabric and a picture of what I made in the little journal. We could see how long that would last. Would I actually be able to keep it up? I don't know. That's the question, right? I'm not good at that stuff. All right, so I have that second set cut out until the back parts of the pocket. So this is going to be the back pockets that are going to be on the back. And that I'm just cutting out the 1 layer for the back pockets. I'm not going to double up the layers on the back pocket. Only on the front pocket. I'm going to go ahead and pin that piece together. All right, now all I have to cut out of these pieces is the front yoke and the front facing of the pocket. So the front facing is this part right here inside your pocket here. Like that just kind of faces this piece. And then the yoke is this piece. So that goes against here. Like that your hand is flat against and goes into your pocket. That's the yoke. It's the front yoke and pocket. And then the facing is the inside. That's the facing of this piece. Hopefully I explained that well enough. So these are just cut 2. And I think I will just line it up like that against the selvage. And then I will have this section here free for something else. I don't know what I'll use it for. Trying to decide if that's the best option to do. I don't know, because I really don't want to cut off both selvages of that fabric. But I don't want the whole fabric to go to waste either. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll cut this piece out here. And then I'll take and I'll fold that piece on the other section, so that I'm using up less. There. See, I did line up make sure I was on grain on there. Okay. Like if you want to use a totally different fabric for your pocket facings and linings and stuff for your yoke and your facings, you can do that. You're the master of your fabric choice. Nothing that says that it all has to match. Okay. Go ahead and put a pin in there. I'll cut my notches. And I guess that piece I only had I have two notches. So I have one on this bottom curve. And that's kind of where the curves are going to line up when you hook it up to your other pocket piece. And then this is going to, this flat one over here is going to line up with the cuts, like the little notch that we put in before. So we have a couple of dots to mark on this. We'll take the pen again, the back side here. And I don't make a perfect circle. I just do like a little squiggle there. Just kind of mark it. Now you don't have to use friction markers. You can use like chalk. I just don't like doing the chalk route because it goes away. So we have our pocket yoke done. I was mentioning before, we're going to take this we'll just take and just use the small section here. Okay. And I am going to go along this fold and make sure that I have it an equal fold. And then put my facing piece down, my pocket facing piece down, line it up on the selvage, and make sure I have this piece kind of straight. My hands are a little bit dry, so they're catching the fabric and stuff. All right. So we have that all lined up. And then I still have the rest of this fabric piece that's more usable now. But then I'm still going to have where I know where the selvage is for future use if I need to. Because sometimes with knit fabrics, you can tell which way the selvage is going to be, depending on the stretch. So with this knit fabric, going from selvage to selvage, it's got a little bit, it's got stretch as to where up and down the selvage, it's got a little bit of stretch, but it's less stretch. So going parallel with the selvage is less stretch than going across from selvage to selvage, if that makes sense. Hopefully I didn't confuse anybody. I kind of did make it. So I have a 6-foot table, like a 6-foot lifetime table underneath this. And then I needed it to be more stable. So when I moved it down here, so I used it up in my front room for a little bit because my sister needed me to store some of her stuff because we had cleaned out her storage unit. And so her stuff came over to my house into my garage. Well, this 6-foot table was in the storage unit. And she kind of gave it to me. And if she wants it back, she can eventually have it back. But she doesn't need it back until it kind of became mine. But she let me have it. And so when I first started picking up sewing again and starting to sew, I was sewing upstairs in my front room because my son was down here in this room. And so when then he moved out, and he was moved out for a little bit. He was out, and I'm finally like, you know what? I'm going to clean out that room, and I'm going to use it as my sewing space. And my husband was more than happy with that, because then that meant that my accumulation of craft supplies and stuff that was constantly being up in the front room. Well, not only that, but then the cats couldn't get to it, and the dogs couldn't get to it, and my kids couldn't get to it. That's really what it rolled down to. So this table is like 35 inches wide by 72 inches long, I think. Yeah, I think it's 72. No, it's 70. So 35 by 70 is the length of the green mat. And then I have like an extra inch on the edge. So it's like 71 inches. And so I had made a jacket and purse for my mom a while, like years ago. And my mom gave me $100. I didn't expect the money, you know, but she does like to pay me for my talent when I make her stuff. So she gave me some money. And so I took that $100 and I went to Joann's and I purchased my green mat. Now at Joann's, they were having like a sale. And so the mat was cheaper than what it normally is. So I got the mat. And I don't think I had the wood on here yet either. I got the OSB board to put the mat on. Because I think before I just had my table and I would just use the top of the table. So I kind of customized it so that the mat fit with the board. So I could use it with the table. Otherwise, my table space would be a lot shorter because under here, the table only really goes to right here. So it's like a 27-inch wide table. So yeah. So we have all of our pieces here. Now, this piece we're not going to have to cut out of our lining fabric. This piece, so that's our pocket facing number 6. Our pocket front yoke is number 7. Our bib back, number 3, we're going to cut out a lining piece for. So we're going to set that over there. Our pocket piece for our bib and our back pockets, we don't need a lining piece cut out of that. Oh, I left a pin in there. And for our bib front, number 1, we are going to do a lining piece. For our strap piece, which is number 16, because I'm doing the longer straps. If you're going to do the shorter straps, it's piece number 4. We're not going to do a lining piece out of that. But for our legs, our front and back, so our front leg number 5, we're going to do a lining piece. Our back leg number 8, we're doing a lining piece. And then for our pants cuffs, for the cuffs on the bottom, those are not going to be lined. So we've got this pile that's not going to be lined. And we have this pile, which is only 4 pieces that we're going to cut out of our lining piece. Okay. So now I have this nice fuzzy fabric. So it has this fuzz on this side. And then on the opposite side, it's kind of like a sweater. Like a sweatshirt. But I just kind of want that extra piece there. I don't live in Colorado, Matthew. I think you're thinking of somebody else living in Colorado. I live in Utah. I don't live in Colorado. Well, that's a good one, Matthew. And with like knits like this, they do curl a little bit. So you do have a little bit of the curl factor, but that's okay. So we have our fabric folder, and now this fabric is a little bit wider than most, and our selvage is right here. And I've got quite a bit of this. I think it's just 2 yards of fabric. So 2 yards, but it's like an extra wide. It's like I guess it's almost a 70-inch wide piece of fabric. That's pretty cool. Well, Utah is cold. I know Texas was getting pretty cold too. If you want really cold, Matthew, you can go up to Canada. Now, wouldn't that be fun? And visit all of our Canadian friends. My roller's kind of getting in the way there. I'm going to move it. So I stop hitting it and having to fight with it. Oh, that's good, Dixie. Now, my husband said it was supposed to be getting warmer in Texas, because that's where he is. So we're going to save these pieces. These pieces are going to be, so we really don't need the fabric on these pieces. We just need the actual pattern piece. Same with this. We don't need it really connected to the fabric. But that's really not going to do us any good. There we go. Move that piece away. All right. Okay. All right, so we have this front piece. So being that this fabric is so wide, I think we're going to be able to actually line these pieces up here so that we'll still have quite a bit left over. Almost looks like we might have a leftover. I could actually make a little sweatshirt out of this fabric. Maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? Wishful thinking. I think that's going to work. Now we have to make sure we have it on grain though, because you don't want your clothes to be all scawampus as you're wearing them. You kind of want them to line up. And I did pretty good, getting these laying these out. I'm pretty impressed with myself. I'm just saying. That was pretty good. I laid those out pretty straight. You're going to avoid stripes? Yeah, you can avoid stripes. Now, floral designs, like ones with lots of print, like the ones that I'm wearing, they work pretty good. Now, I do have a couple of pants that I have stripes. I guess they're kind of like the green, but they're like bigger squares. They're not like just straight stripes. Hi, Denley. Great to see you. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask them. I can try to answer. I know a lot of questions aren't going to come up while I'm just cutting out the pattern. I'm sure more of the questions will be when I'm sewing up the pattern. Because that's where a lot of questions arise, is when you're sewing them up. You're like, okay, how do I follow this direction? What do I do? Now, I've made this pattern several times, and so I do keep the instructions handy, but I don't have to refer to them too often. And we'll see how much we can get done before kids are like, Mom, we need something. But they're pretty good. And yeah, I let him sit there and I let him play on the computer. All right. Yeah, I made sure I got up so I could come down and get this started at a decent time. And the night after, my kids are awake, and it's like, really? They didn't want to sleep in very much. Because sometimes they'll sleep in quite a bit. I was surprised my 10-year-old didn't want to sleep in. Because usually he sleeps in on the weekends. But I guess it's good that he didn't sleep in. Because then maybe he'll actually go to bed tonight. Okay, the weights are, it's a flat washer, 3/4 inch flat washer. So it just looks like this. And they're just ones that I got from Home Depot. Like, my husband tried picking me up just a couple, without them being in the box. Hi, Ray. Hi, Carol. All right, well, thanks, Carol. So my husband went to pick me up some, and he only wanted to pick me up a couple, and he's like, well, how many should I get? I'm like, do you see the size of my craft table and what I'm working with? We got to have a bunch. You know? So he picked me up one box, I think, is what I ended up having him do. And then later, I went and picked up a second box. Because one box just wasn't enough. Kind of funny, right? All right. I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in these dots again, like I did before. I thought I clipped all my notches. I guess I missed this pocket notch. There. I am making Simplicity 8855. It is a knit overall pattern. And we're making view A. So now I'm just marking my dots. And I'm using a friction pen or marker that also it erases with heat most of the time. I'm sure there's been times where it hasn't. Thanks, Ray. So what I'm cutting out now is I'm just cutting out like the lining of the fabric that I'm using, because I want to line the pants. And it's not that difficult to line something. It's kind of like just making a duplicate of the same item and then mushing it together. Now this, we're going to put the fabric together. We're going to serge it with the two pieces together. And then we're going to sew them together. So there is going to be using a serger involved. Now you don't have to use a serger if you don't have a serger. You can just use a zigzag stitch on your machine, on your regular sewing machine. And with knits, you don't even have to use a serger, okay? Serging is not required. Even with wovens, serging is not required. It's just for aesthetics, for look. Okay, I'm going to get up on my table here because I need some of that leverage to get these areas here, because I don't want to have to scooch my fabric on the cutting table to cut it. So I love the table that I have because it can handle me getting on it. Plus it can handle pretty much anything. I haven't ever had any issues with it not handling what I have on it. I know. You just started making triangles. Well, you know, when I first started, I talked to my mom, because my mom was living with me at the time when my kids were younger. And let's see. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and add some moderators on here, because I don't know if my other ones are still in here. But I just want to make sure that I have some people in here, because I left my chat open so everyone can chat and listen in. So just in case I end up having bots, I want moderators to be able to take care of them. And then I want you to be able to share channels if you want. Like, if you know someone has a channel, I want you to be able to pop in their link on here, and you can only do that if you're a moderator. And I don't want everyone to be moderators, only people that I trust, that I know have the capabilities of modding, because I've seen them mod in other channels, and they're pretty savvy. Okay, so I have this lining piece, and sometimes you do hit a snag where, because of the mats coming together. So we have this piece cut out. So we have 2 more pieces to cut out, and they're just those pieces there. Okay. I'm going to see if I could scoot that, but I don't want to have to take off all of my things to scooch it. So we're just going to leave it where it's at. Work with what we have. Because I do kind of have this close to the wall. Because I do have a wall here. Okay. I can scoot this piece because kind of on its own here. And I love being able to cut it out with the rotary cutter. So as I was mentioning, when my mom lived with me, I had mentioned to her that I wanted to start sewing clothes, that I really wanted to learn. And she's like, well, why don't you? I'm like, I don't know how to follow a pattern. Those things like elude me. I was like, kind of like you, terrified. I was like, oh my goodness, how would I do this? Like all those signals and signs and stuff on the patterns, and like the dots and the notches, and just all the different lines and stuff. I was like, oh my goodness, how would I do this? You know, it was scary. And I was talking to my mom, and she's like, well, you go pick up a pattern that you want to sew. So go to the store. And so I went to Hancock Fabrics. Granted, that was many years ago. Hancock has since gone out of business. But I went there, and at that time they had the patterns on sale for 99 cents. And so I was able to pick up a couple of patterns. Yeah, PJ pants are fine too. Now, you can turn this into PJ pants pattern. All you got to do is leave off the bib and just add a waistband and put it around the top. You know. So my son likes this pattern. He's 13. And in December, he was like, Mom, I need some new pants, because his pants got a hole in them, like, and they're wearing out. And he was like, Mom, I need a new pair of pants. I'm like, okay. Because he wears them out. He like wears them everywhere. He loves them. Oh, you're so welcome, Billy. So I took and I got some of the fabric that he wanted me to use because he likes a certain fabric. It's like a red fabric. And so I used this pattern, but the size 6 on the thing because he's 13. Although I'm going to have to lengthen the legs for him because he's already taller. They grow so fast. Thanks for sharing that, Ray. Lizzie is a great creator. And you go on with her quite a bit, right, Ray? Seen you on with Lizzie. I think you go on live with someone else too, don't you? Like, I don't mind going on live with people. It's hard to talk sometimes when you're on live with someone else. That's a big personality. So sometimes with those, I will just kind of be a quiet crafter when I'm live with somebody. Oh, yes, I do make it without the lining. I am just adding the lining because it is cold here and I want to be extra warm. So you do not have to add the lining. I have several pairs that do not have the lining. Now, the pair that I am wearing, this pair, it does have a lining in it because the fabric was so thin that it needed the lining. If it didn't have the lining, it would be so thin and almost see-through. Like if you ask Joni, hers does not have the lining. You know, I made her pair first and then I got to my pair and I was like, that's just too thin. I have to have a lining. Crazy, huh? But she lives in Georgia, so it's a little bit warmer there. It's almost like Florida weather, I guess. Yeah. You know what? Like when I first started my channel, like actually posting and doing stuff, like actively, there was a couple times I went live. Only because, well, there was some times where my son was like, oh, Mom, look, you have a live button. You can do this. I don't even remember what age he was. He was just little, and I'm sure you could go back and watch some of those videos of my kids goofing off. And they have grown so much. And I cherish those videos. Seeing those, I'm like, oh my goodness, they were so little and small, and I love it. Being able to go back and watch my kids playing and chatting and talking. Like, I think my son was in kindergarten, actually. My 10-year-old. And I was making a pair of pants for school. Okay. Well, let me go ahead and show you how we're going to do this. This is my lining piece. Now, for the bib part, there is going to be a lining on the bib. But you can use the same fabric that you're using for your actual garment. So you don't have to use a different fabric for your bib. You can use the same fabric. And the bib is just this top portion here. like this top portion, this is called the bib of your overalls. And when you're measuring, just measure your hips. Measure your hips, because when you pull on those pants, whatever size your hips are, your pants are going to have to go up over your hips. Okay? So you don't want to measure out your stomach, like your waist size, like if you're a little bit bigger, because if I measured out my waist size, like how big my mommy bulge is, I'd be making like a size 21 for the waist. Like right here. Well, that's probably like right up here is like a 34. Like right here, though, right here, like where my belly button is section, like around, that is like a 36. Okay, 35, 36. Thank you, Ray. So, I live in the basement. Well, my craft room is in the basement. So, my ceiling is very low. So, here's my ceiling right here. Okay. And so, behind my curtain, I have a bunch of stuff. So, I just kind of do this just to kind of hide the distraction. It just kind of makes it a little elusive there. But for your bib, you are going to need the 2 layers. But you can use the same fabric, or you can use a totally different fabric. This, I'm using the fabric I'm going to use for my lining. So with this top part, like when you do your bib, you're going to take and put the 2 pieces together. Okay? So you have your 2 pieces. And so when you do it, you're going to sew that piece. But before I do that, I'm actually going to take, trying to think, do I want to serge this piece? I probably do not want to serge this piece. So we'll just go ahead and keep going. I know the pants portion I'm going to want to serge. So you're going to take and line up these 2 pieces. Okay. And when I mark this, I kind of marked it on the wrong side, because this piece, like on this, like the, not this fuzzy side, but the smoother side of the fabric, that is going to be what's going to be touching the other shirt, is this smooth side. This fuzzy side is going to be on the inside. But that's going to be opposite for the pants portion, because I'm going to have the fuzzy side touching my skin. But you can make these without doing a lining. You just have to have the 2 pieces of each of these pattern pieces for the top portion. And you're going to sew those together. And you're going to sew these other 2 pieces here together. So like your pattern side, the side that you want showing, and then put other piece on top so that your seams are going to be on the wrong side of the fabric. And just take and pin those together. Yeah, so when I first went live, I haven't done a whole lot of lives, but I really worked up the courage from watching these other people going live all the time. You know, I really wasn't a live streamer. I didn't do a lot of lives. But I was thinking of the benefits, because you're not going to go through and edit your video that you do live. And on one that is a longer project like this, I have a hard time going through and editing a video that I recorded. If I'm doing something. So it's easier just to go live and post it, and they can see what you're doing, and then you can chat, especially when it's a tutorial. Yeah. Yeah, I've gone on with Becca before. Or more, it was with Beth. I don't think I've actually joined one of Becca's, but I've joined Beth, and Beth was on Becca's. Hi, Angie. So glad to have you here. So actually, before I get ahead of myself here, okay, let me see. I'm trying to think. Okay, so I am just going to leave it like that, and then when I put them together, I will line up my pocket piece. So I have those there. So how we're going to do this for these pants, for the pants portion. So this is my front pocket, my front piece. That's my back. So this is my front. Okay. Oh, yes, I did meet Becca in real life. So we were only like 45 minutes away from Becca, where my husband is staying. And so while I was down there in Texas, me and my husband drove over and visited Becca. And we went to her house and we chatted and visited for a while. Met her dog, Jughead, and her cats, and her son, Gatton. Shannon was at work. You're looking for your wax kit, Angie? So when I wear these, I'm going to have the fuzzy side on the opposite side. Now I don't have to line these. This fabric is going to be fine just on its own. You know, I could easily take this other fabric and just make a pair, just a plain pair without using it as a lining. It's like just my idea. I'm like, I want to line it. And so with this, I am going to take and I'm going to use my serger and serge these edges together, because then it's going to keep it lined up. And then when I go to sew it together, it's just going to sew together. Like my son, like I need to make some clothes, like some new pants for my 8-year-old for school. But I'm thinking we can get by with the pants that she currently has for the rest of the school year, I'm hoping. And then I will have to make her new pants for next year. Believe how fast these kids grow. Well, it took me almost 2 hours to cut out the pattern and all my chit chat. I don't know. If I wasn't on live, it would probably take me less time. But I want to make sure that you guys see the process and understand the process. Because I want you to be able to like go back and think, oh, I can do this. I want you to be able to go and watch the video and say, you know what? She makes this look so easy. And it's not too difficult. It just takes the understanding. So, as I was saying before, my mom says, well, you go find a pattern that you want to make and some fabric that you want to make it with. And so I went and found a pattern that I wanted to make and some fabric. And she showed me like what the pattern meant and how we wanted to do things. And so when I started with my patterns, I had just like a little box, just a small little, kind of like a file box type thing. It has the little ledges on it to put like filing, like file folders in. And so I would take and line up my patterns. And I started out with just a small one of those, my first patterns. Oh yeah, blocks for your quilt. Are you hand sewing or are you machine sewing those, Ray? Okay, I kind of want to get out my machines and show you the process of sewing this together, because I kind of want to get right into this. So if you guys are okay, I'm going to go ahead and get out my machine and we're going to start sewing this thing up since we have everything cut out. I think that would be the best option. So go ahead and grab my machine here. I have my serger here. All right, I just pulled my curtain down. Not that I really needed all of it up for this portion. Okay. Now I just have to find the rest of my machine. Right there. How to find my foot pedal. Now I can operate this machine without a foot pedal. Well, my my sewing machine I can operate without the foot pedal. But I still like the foot pedal. Oh yeah. That's always good, Ray. When I'm doing stuff, sometimes I just sit here and I vegetate. And I don't even sometimes I'm not even productive. I could be so much more productive. And sometimes I just sit and vegetate while I'm watching somebody. And so I don't get anything done. So down here I have a little extension cord thing that I have hooked up to my power strip that I use down here. Usually I have this cord strung back there across. But today I'm just going to plug it into my little extension cord thing that I have down here, so that I'll have my machine here ready to go when I need it. But I do need to change out my threads. And I think I want to use like a cream color gray thread. Oh, just give me a minute while I go behind my magic curtain here and find my threads. Okay. I'm just going to change it to this color. I know it doesn't really match. It doesn't matter. I just don't want to use the black today. And I guess I could use white. I just break my thing again. At least my hooks are holding up. It's just I'm using little tiny mini binder clips, so they're not holding up as well. So then I'm not going to use these ones, so I'm just going to set those off to the side there. Let's use these white ones here. Now, usually with the needle thread, you're not going to usually take and tie the strings and feed it through. Like, this is fairly easy to thread the machine. And this is just an old Singer serger that I have here that I got for $50 from the thrift store. Because when I got it, I was I had just taken my other serger in to be serviced, and I happened to see this at the thrift store, and I looked down, I'm like, you know what? I think that'll work. And so with this one, I only used the 3 threads because there is something wacky that goes on with the goes on with the tension and stuff, and the needle, like the thread will break and stuff. But with this one, I really only need it to do the 3 thread. I've done the 4 thread on this, and I was like, you know what? I don't like how that looks. So I just switched it to the 3 thread. But if I want to make my stitch, like my serging stitch, wider or narrower, I just move the needle position in this, and I just keep it threaded with where it's threaded, and work that way. Oh, good job, Angie. I'm so glad you found it. All right. And so this is just like all mechanical. So it's none of it's like electronic based at all in this machine, which I like. because sometimes all the like the computer-based machines, sometimes they just mess up. What? I don't know. Oh my, that's what happened. My thread got twisted around the thing. So this piece I will have to re-thread through my thing. I did keep my garbage can out near. Okay. Oh, that needs to be tightened. My little like thing there needs to be tightened. That's why it's so loose. So this machine, I kind of took it apart, serviced it a little bit, cleaned it. I took the knobs off the top portion of it, like the knobs, and I cleaned that. Okay, Becky. Thanks for stopping by. Okay. Like that. So I still need to string through this. So with this one, it's pretty simple. Like I already have the other one still put through. But you kind of have to like feed it through that there. And then for this piece, you feed it through this little hole here. And you can't even see what I'm talking about because it doesn't work that way. Maybe up a little bit closer. So on the machine, it has a little hole in the sidearm that you feed it through. Oh, the kitty cat is crying because my son left. I think we feed it through there anyways. I don't remember. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, you do feed it through the hole. kind of feed it through. And I wonder if a sewing needle, like this, a small sewing needle, would fit through that hole. I have a little teeny tiny skinny one somewhere. Let's see. So if we take it at the other end here, because it does say on the diagram it does need to go through that little hole. Yeah, but it goes through the little hole of the arm. That's probably why they don't make this kind anymore. He made it just fine, Becca. And welcome in. I'm trying something out for threading this looper on my machine. And of course, well, maybe this needle will work. I don't know if this needle's going to work or not, but it might. See, that's where the tweezers come in handy, is for this needle work. Trying to think of which pair I want to use though. I might just use my little hemostat ones. There. Oh, I was looking in the wrong drawer. They're a little pair of like hemostat tweezer things, like these little things. Yeah, this one just it's because it goes through a little teeny tiny hole. That this wasn't gonna work quite right. But this machine I also got from the thrift store. Like my other machine is different. It like actually has like a little lever I can push that feeds it through like the little hole for the looper. But this one is different. This one's an older machine, and this is a Singer, and my other one's a Viking. But my other one I took into the machine repair place because it was being naughty and didn't want to work right. And I needed it serviced. All right. I'll put my needle back on my little mannequin here. See, I have this little like mannequin pincushion thing that I like to use. Now, I don't know what year this one was made, but I purchased it a couple years ago at the thrift store. And that was like one of the best purchases ever. It cost me like $50. But I don't know the year. This is an Ultralock 14U46 Singer. Made in Japan. But I don't know the year it was made. I just know I purchased it a couple years ago, and it has been great. It has like been like my go-to machine since I got it, because it just works so much better than the other one. All right. So as I said, we're going to go ahead and serge these edges and stuff. I'm just trying to think because I don't want to lose my notches. So since I have my notches here, I'm going to just take my marker here, my little pen, and I'm just going to mark on the lining fabric a little blue line so that I'll know where that notch is for later purposes. Maybe I'm just making things a little more complicated than I need to. Maybe I don't need to line it. But I still want the lining. Oh, it's at your mom's? Hopefully it still works, Becca. Because machines should generally be used on a regular basis. Although, really, I have a lot to say because I have machines that are just sitting there, not even being touched, not even being used. But the problem is they have issues. Like one of them, I need a new, like the timing or something's off on it. And so I haven't been using it. And I could take it in to be serviced, but with how much it's costing me to get my Vikings serviced, and hopefully they come back working great. I hope it's worth it. But I'm not going to get those back until March. My serger and my embroidery machine. Okay. So here we go. We're going to make a lot of noise. I hope you guys are prepared. Oh yeah, and I do need to take a piece of fabric and make sure that this is working properly because I did just rethread it. And I'm sure some of you would wonder, why are you using 2 pieces of fabric when you go to check your stitch? Well, one of the reasons is I want to use it as I'm going to make sure that I'm going to get a good stitch as that the stitch is still going to be good as I use this, because I am going to be having it layered like this. I want to make sure my stitch is proper. Okay. So my stitch, here's my stitch here. Looks like which one is off? Maybe that needs to be tighter and that needs to be looser. There's something off with the looper. little bit better. See, so we have that now. It's a little bit better. It's not 100%, but it is better than what it was, and I think that'll be good compared to what it was before. So I think we're ready to go. Fill that over there. A heat gun and wax. Oh, fun, Angie. Just be careful and don't burn yourself. And when you're using pins with the serger, you want to make sure you stop, pull out the pins. You never want to run over pins. That'll break your machine. What, buddy?
Can you grab my maple donut?
It's in the kitchen in that box. You go grab it. Okay?
What?
It's in the kitchen in that box on the chair. You go grab it.
Can you pour me a drink?
A drink of what?
Of pink milk.
Okay, guys, just give me a minute. I will be right back. It's 1 minute, guys. Okay, go upstairs. What, Dan? And then go back to my video, okay? Sorry about that, guys. So, Cheryl, you said to show it again. Like my stitching for my serger. Like this. Like the first section, yeah, I really can't show you much because I already searched it all off. But it had a little, like, it was a little overlapped a little bit too much. So this one, it has less of that overlap. Because when the threads join together, they're supposed to, like, join together right along the top. And so that just means a little bit of a tension adjustment on the machine. So I have little knobs over here. And it's all, like, mechanical. So there's, like, no, like, computer thing saying, oh, tension is different. So hopefully that helped. But I was saying you never want to sew over the pins because that'll break your machine. Especially on a serger. You're welcome, Cheryl. Well, see, I have that all stitched together. And then here's the back side. So it's almost right up there at that edge of the fabric. Like the thread, like the stitching, where it overlaps. And that's kind of how it needs to be. And with this fabric, I am using fabric that does have a different stretch factor. Well, that's kind of why I did pin some of it, so that it's going to kind of keep it pinned to where it needs to be, so it doesn't overstretch the lining fabric more than it's going to stretch the other fabric. Because if I wanted to, I could stretch this other fabric and it would be stretched like way a lot. I'd rather not do that. And so when I'm sewing it, it's just, if it's cutting off anything, it's just cutting off the minuscule right at the edge. So it's not really cutting much off. It's like little tiny portions like this is maybe cutting off. So I'm not really cutting much off of the edges because I don't need to. I just need to serge those ends together. And I know my serger is so noisy, isn't it? I just kind of work around the edge as I go until I get all edges serged up. Okay, so now we have the first section of the pants sewn together. This is a back piece. And how I know it's a back is because it doesn't have the pocket curve. So this is a back. And so the other side is the lining. And now I can't see where I had the pocket like marks on here. So I am going to have to go back and mark on the top of this where those dots were to sew my pockets on. So I'll set that piece aside since I've got that piece sewn up. So before I sew up this next piece, I'm going to take and open this up so I don't have to like pull out the pattern piece next time to mark these dots. I'm just going to go ahead and mark on the outside of this where those dots are. So that I have them marked, so I'll be able to see them when I go to sew on the pockets. Go ahead and mark my notches on here. And some of my notches still show up after I serge. I just don't want to like search for those little like cuts in the fabric. After I serge, I don't want to have to search horribly long for it. I hope you didn't burn yourself, Angie. Hope you were being safe with that heat gun and that glue and that wax. Heat guns can get hot. You're being safe. I'm so glad, Angie. Okay. Yeah, you're being safe. I'm glad, Angie. I wouldn't want you to get hurt. That's all I'm saying. We want to keep our precious Angie safe. Because you are a dear friend. And I don't like my friends to get hurt. Alright. So I'm just kind of lining up these notches. So I'm sure some would wonder why I complicate things. Because this does make it a little more complicated that I am adding a lining. And a fabric that may not necessarily need a lining. But it's just the way I work. Seriously. Like, I get one of those ideas and I'm like, oh, I am making Simplicity 8855. View A. So it is this view right here. But I'm using the rounded back pockets. And this is the front side. So view A right here. And I'm doing the longer straps because bodies are always changing. And if like something happens and my straps are way too tight, I can undo that button and I can move, like I can reposition those buttons. Hi, Alicia. Thank you for joining us and thank you for that compliment. Yep, you saw that. I just put that pin in my mouth to switch it around. No, I just like to line things. I like to make them more comfortable for me. And with this fabric, and it is like an older timey fabric. It's like one that reminds you of like the 60s, I guess. I saw it at the thrift store and I got it for like $5. Hi, Kellyanne. I just went over this. I am making Simplicity 8855 View A. It is the knit overalls. Hi, Stephanie. So glad you could join me. So right now I am serging, well, I'm pinning right now, but I am serging together my lining and my fabric because I like to add linings to things. But see, I am finishing the seams by serging. Like, serging the seam is finishing the seam. Now, if I was just sewing them as separate pieces and then like sandwiching them together, that's different. But I like to serge the lining right to the fabric. Like in this case, there's other ones that'll make the lining separate and then sandwich it in. Like the jackets, that lining is a separate piece that I sandwich in. But this, the lining is becoming part of the main piece of fabric. So the lining is treated the same as the piece of fabric and they're just smushed together. I like all the technical terms, smushed and smashed and... Oh, they've been watching me? Oh, you left me running. Awesome, Becky. Hopefully that was a good trip that you had to make. No eggs at the flea market? Oh, man. Maybe it's time to buy some chickens. You know, I heard that they were having the shortage of eggs because they switched something with the chicken feed that made the chicken stop producing eggs. I don't know how true that is, but I watched that on somebody's channel, and I don't remember which one it was. They were talking about how their chickens had stopped laying, and so they switched the feed to a new feed, and the chickens started laying again. You found a new Goodwill? You found one that was hiding? Awesome. Isn't it great when new ones pop up? Don't use a heating gun to do wax. Takes too long. Oh, you scored? Are you going to do a haul video, Becky? I want to see that. Oh, awesome. I wish they would build a Goodwill in Ogden, where I live. I wish that they would, build one. I'm going to put my phone up on my little stand thing here. Make it a little simpler to read chat. Should be all messages. So I have one Goodwill that I go to out here. Like in Texas, when I looked it up, there was like 6 within a couple miles of each other. But we only went to one because I couldn't like have my husband going to a bunch of different ones. I don't think he'd appreciate that. But going to one Goodwill was fine. Like I have a Goodwill in Salt Lake that I could go to, but that's too far. But I like to go to the one in Layton. And then there's a Desert Industries and a Savers right there. And a Walmart across the street and a Sam's Club across the street too. And then the other way, around the other corner, is a Hobby Lobby and a Harbor Freight and a Big Lots. Yeah. So true. And that's hard too. The eggs have been like a real issue this year. Like I looked at eggs last night. Well, yesterday when I took the kids to the store. Because of course I took them grocery shopping with me after I picked them up. Because we needed more milk. And I just couldn't make it to the grocery store before I had to pick them up from school. And I couldn't like not go to the store, so I took them with me. Granted, grocery shopping with 4 little kids, like over $100. I was like, geez, my husband is gonna look at all these grocery trips and wonder what's going on. I know, my machine is so noisy. And maybe that cancels out some of the noise with the way the system works. See, sometimes it does pucker a little bit in some areas. But I think that's going to be okay. It's just going to be the back seam by my back where that's puckered a little bit. I don't think it's going to affect too much. Yeah, I saw that the milk was just under $3. Gas prices are going back up though where I am. Like gas prices were, like most places are like $3.58 a gallon, $3.88 a gallon. Where I went, it's like $3.35, but that's because I went to Sam's Club for gasoline. The egg prices were like $4.48 a dozen. Oh, geez. Oh, $250 later. Oh my goodness, Stephanie. I bet. But did you do grocery shopping while you were there, Stephanie, or did you just buy like other stuff and no groceries? $5 for 6 bottles? That's like it's like almost $1 a bottle. That's just barbaric, seriously. I guess you just gotta stop drinking Coke, Angie. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm gonna mark all these notches because my serger might take the notches away. And granted, it probably really doesn't take the notches away, but it makes it easier to see for later. And if I wasn't lining it, I don't think it would matter too much. Like sometimes I like to sew the pieces together and then serge. And so it just has the seam after I've sewn pieces together. It doesn't have the flaps. But when making with lining, I like to serge the lining right to that. Yeah, prices have definitely gone up. Like I know for some families, they were getting, well, even my family, we were getting the, like part of the pandemic EBT card. So it was for families with kids that were affected, by the pandemic and that had kids in school that got sick and or like ones that when they had a homeschool type thing. I heard that that Biden has stopped the funding on that and is taking that away. Even though there's still people that are getting COVID and having to stay out of school. Like my sister just got over having COVID again, which is crazy. And she could definitely feel it because she gets sick. She doesn't like get super sick, but she does get sick. Let's see. Yeah, our gas was under $3 a gallon, and then it started going back up. So we were down to like $2.88 a gallon for gasoline, and then it is now back up to like $3.58. And it's just barbaric. I don't know. And I'm sure there's reasonings why the gas is so high, but seriously, it should not be. I don't know. And people will continue to pay it because they don't want to be out walking in this cold. They'd rather drive. I feel bad for those people that stand out on the side of the road that are panhandling. I don't know. I don't know if I should feel bad for them or sorry for them because they're out there in the cold when they could be in their nice warm house. And I understand some of them are homeless. But there's others out there that are not, that go out there. And it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy that they would stop so much of that, Ray. Like just because the pandemic has slowed down and stuff doesn't mean that the need has gotten any less. Because prices have gone up so much with everything that extra for like food supplies and stuff would be so helpful. I don't know. It's weird. So you guys just kind of see the whole construction of this, because I can't just say, oh look, you do this and then you do this to all of the other and cut to it and then show you the next step, because I have to do each step as it comes. And that means showing you as I serge them together. Because there's no editing and skipping to the final part when you're live streaming. Nap time. Oh, fun. Yeah, I forget sometimes that everyone else is like 2 hours ahead of me, most people. There's others that are 1 hour, like blah, blah, blah. Becca is 1 hour. Becky is 2 hours. I know there's some that are probably an hour behind. Because here it's 11 o'clock. To get the right size. I don't know. Like, so will I do a video on fitting a pattern to yourself to get the right size? Yeah, I might be able to do that. Like a shirt, like adjusting it so that it's the right size. So with this pants, I'm making a size 12. So if you look at the back of the envelope, so on the back of the envelope on this, it gives you sizes, like measurements and stuff. So it says for the bust is 34. So for the size 12 that I'm making, it says bust is 34. Well, my bust is 36. So if you watch from the beginning, I kind of gave you my measurements of my hip, waist, under bust. Like I have my butt, I have my hips, which are about the same because I'm kind of small. And then I have my waist, but I usually measure that with my belly button. And then my upper is like just above my belly button. And then I measure under my bust. I measured my bust and I measured my upper bust, kind of giving you those measurements. And I was kind of mentioning that with this pattern, really the most important measurement that is good is your hip measurement. So like the way that the pants are going to come up on you, because this part has to be able to come up over your hips. It's going to stretch a little bit, so having it come up over the hips is the most important part. So if you're making a pattern and you say, well, my waist is a 36, so I need to make it size 21. No, not with your waist. That would be totally barbaric because you have a lot of leeway in the top for your waist and stuff and your boobs and whatnot. It's the hips that are the most important in this knit pattern because it's all knit. It's like you don't have any button closures on the side. You're like fitting it up to what you need. And so the fabric has to fit over your hips, like over your butt and your hips and stuff to fit. So you measure your hips. You measure like the biggest part. Like if you have a big butt and wide hips, you measure around like the fullest part of your hips and your body. You measure that. And then you decide like what is that size? Like mine is a 36. Okay. I have made a size 14, and the size 14 is really big and baggy, and I do wear them. But I find that I am always like thinking of how to cinch in those sides because they are a little bit baggy. No more talk of work today. I'm off. Oh, yeah. That's hard. But meat was high too for a while. Like hamburger meat, that was really pricey for a while. Now I notice that the prices have gone down a little bit in the meat. But when I go to the grocery store, I buy the cheaper thing of hamburger meat. Like I bought the 10-pound chub last night, and I think it was $30. Well, that's $3 a pound for meat. But it's like the 70-30, I guess. Is that what it is? Yeah, 70-30. No, it's the 73-27. I don't know. It's that lower one. But I buy that one because I don't find much difference in the quality. And when I'm cooking up meat, I like to see all the grease. I know that it's real meat if it has that extra grease. I don't know. I'm weird that way. Okay, back to work. I'm a chatterbox. See how slow I am because I'm finally getting to the sectioning. Oh, you used to have a serger, but you got rid of it? That's awesome, Angie. Don't you love when your mom sings so? I know. I liked it when my mom sang. So I like to sing for my kids sometimes. Mainly because it just annoys them and they get upset about it. I double check my messages. Okay. I didn't have a serger for the longest time, and then a couple of years ago I got one, and I worked with it, and then something happened. But I guess it was just a pedal that went out, but I thought it was the machine itself. Yeah, especially in the morning. It makes him really mad when I go in and say, "Good morning, good morning. It's time to wake up." And I just spelled it out, do different tunes and stuff. And then my 10-year-old will like, "Shut up." Oh yeah, an air thread serger, like the Viking Amber Air. Those things are expensive though too. Like I have a serger that I have to thread. It's my Viking S85. It's a cover stitch machine combined with the serger. Like if I could trade it in and get one of those air sergers, like if I could upgrade to one of those instead of having my S25, I would. And I've tried, I've asked some places if it's possible, to trade it in, and like, no. I'm like, really? I can't like sell it to you and trade it in for a different one? They don't like that idea. And I'm just like, really? But I always hear of these people like that buy machines, like they take their other machine in and they trade it and like upgrade it to a different machine. I would so do that with my other serger. Now this one I will always keep, I'm sure, because I love this one and this one doesn't cause me any problems. But my Viking serger that I have, if I could take that one in and trade it in for an Amber Air at the dealer or something, like a different serger, if I could take it and trade it for like one of those like the air threaders, I would so do that. I would give up that cover stitch because I never even used the cover stitch. I got the machine because it had the cover stitch, with it. But I've asked some places and like, no, we can't do that. I'm like, really? You're not going to let me like sell it to you and trade it in for something else? They never give me that option. And it's so frustrating. Because I would so do that. Because the S25 is okay, but like 90% of the time lately, it's just sat back on my back table. Because I have a table behind my magic curtain here that I put my embroidery machines on and other stuff. Like right now, it has my cobbler machine. Yep, I have a cobbler machine. Yeah, true. I guess I could do that. It would probably be so rewarding, to sell that Viking to an individual. And I could seriously say, well, it was just serviced. I don't know, though, if I could get $1,000 out of it. I might be able to. Who knows? I know they cost quite a bit brand new at the store. And like the rough estimate of how much it's going to cost me for the service is like $250. But that's if there's not any, like, something else seriously wrong with it. Now, if it's, like, inside, like, the mechanicals, like the computer and all that, that's warranted. And the company, the company can warranty that and help replace it. It's the other stuff. But I don't know. It's a little bit chilly down here, but I'm in my basement, so of course it's chilly. I think it's probably about 70 degrees in the house. Oh my goodness. Oh, I bet, Kellyanne. Like, I could try selling my other serger to an individual. It's just with how many troubles I've had with it, I'm just like, would I want to, like, put those troubles on somebody else is the thing. Make sure I have all my markings here.
Mom?
What, buddy?
I don't want any you're telling you.
Yeah, sir does not need in my sewing room, but thank you for letting me know. I don't need him in here, like, running to the back and getting in trouble. He doesn't need in here.
Yeah. I know them down here, but I do must do them do not.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, I bet, Kellyanne.
Those are not that to a big door. No.
Yeah.
No. To the big door. You don't need it.
My 6-year-old interlude. Oh, my heater just turned on. I know the reason why I'm not getting any of the heat is because I have this curtain up. So I'm just going to switch my curtain really quick. Just a little bit. Move it to my back hook. There we go. And then some of the heat will actually come in, I hope. Oh yeah, Jukies are expensive too. Now I have my sewing embroidery machine, which is the Viking Topaz 40. And I was looking at it the other day because they suggested like actual sewing on it instead of just embroidery. Because the main reason why I got it was for embroidery. Was looking through it and I saw that it had a leather like stitch, a leather sitting to like sew like handbags and stuff. Like, geez, why didn't I see this before? Like when I made the bags a couple months ago, I could have used my Topaz 40 to sew up those bags, and I would have had a much nicer stitch. That was a frustrating project because the regular machines, they're not set up for sewing up leather and vinyl and stuff. But that Topaz has that setting that will do that. But then I also have my cobbler machine, which is also good for sewing up leather. Or vinyl, you know, like the fake leather type stuff. And I'm going to use that for some handbags, maybe. I just don't like to make a whole lot of extra stuff sometimes, like purses and stuff, because I make them and I have fun making them, but then what do I do with them after I sew them up? They just sit there, and I'm like, why did I do that? Because I don't have any use for them, because I have other ones I can use. But I want to make the stuff. I want to be creative. What hinders me with sewing sometimes is, what do I do with it after I sew it up? Yeah, I could sell them, but who would I sell them to? That's the thing. I don't know who I would sell it to. And I don't know the price that I would sell it for. Because Etsy is so expensive that I don't want to do it on Etsy. And then half the time my stuff would just sit there in Etsy and expire, and then I get charged a renewal fee because it's 20 cents, and maybe it's gone up since then, but it was 20 cents per listing, and that lasted maybe 3 months. Oh, that's cool. Oh, thank you, Hottie. Your name's Suzanne, right? Susan? So glad you stopped by. All right, so I have those pieces serged together. These pieces serged. But I do need to serge these other pieces before I put my machine away. I could do... I don't want to go to the craft fair and sell stuff. I don't know. I guess I should just do my little markings. Just in case, because I may not see the little cut, because I do small little notches. And so if I mark it, there it is, right there. And I have a line to go by later. Yeah. And maybe it's a lack of confidence. I don't know. And what I mean by lack of confidence is like trying to sell my creations. I guess I lack the confidence that it would take. Now I do commission. So if somebody wants something, yeah, I'm not a good salesperson either. But if a friend wants something made and they ask if I can make it, I can do that just fine. It's making stuff outside of that and trying to sell it. Like the denim jackets I made for friends, like it was a mom and a daughter. So I'd made one for the mom, and then the daughter saw it and wanted one. And that was my most recent denim jacket that I made in December. That one I sold for like $80. But you have to account in the cost that it takes for the fabric and for the cost of like the knowledge and the crafting of the product. Like her mom, I did that one for like $75. But there was a little bit more involved in the second one that I made than it was in the first one. Well, thank you. Yeah, time is a big factor in making and selling. No, so much noise, huh? The speed along. Okay. So I really don't have to serge all of these ends. Because it's fabric, it's a knit fabric, it's not going to really come unraveled. And this is all going to be hidden anyways. But it is what it is. Yeah, I do too. I get bored of making the thing over and over and over again. Now, like I'll make a couple pairs of pants, but then I'll take a break. I can make some coats. Then I'll take a break and make something else. I can make the hand towels, but I don't like to make a whole bunch of them. Like my sister commissioned me to make a bunch of hand towels for her. And that was just fine. Or sometimes if I make something, I'll just like to give it away. You know, like I made those scarves. I made them and then I gave them away. Because I don't have a need for them. Yeah. Love to make quilt blocks, but get bored before the quilt is done. Maybe I should just make baby quilts. Yeah. Like I made a quilt for my daughter. Well, she started it. Like I helped her. But I did a lot of the work. I had to tie it and everything. But it wasn't bad. It's just a lot of work. But tying it, I have to put it on my quilt frame that I use for tying quilts. And that, it's too big to really, I can bring it in the house and set it up in the front room, but it really is kind of too big for that with everything else in there, especially since I added a freezer in my front room. So when I go to like tie quilts, I'll usually do it in my garage. So I'll like sweep out an area and I'll set it up in there. And then if it has to sit there for a while before I can finish tying it, it can, because I can park in the driveway. I don't have to park in the garage. So it's not a big important part to park in the garage. It's a nice luxury. I so enjoy it. I enjoy being able to park in the garage. Like right now, the garage has a lot of my daughter's stuff. And I wanted to take it out to her like in June. I don't think I want to make that trip. Okay, so this is the cuff piece. Okay, now I'm gonna try to think how I want to do this. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and sew around all of these pocket pieces. Now she just sews it together. Okay. I'm gonna make lots of noise here. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to let go of the perfectionism. And I find that when I'm making stuff, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, but I try to not be that so much. Okay, so I have these are my back pockets and my bib pocket sewn. Well, I have them serged more so. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just mark these little lines here. Now lining the pants and stuff, the knit pants, it does add a little bit of extra weight onto the pants. So these that I'm wearing, they could be a lot lighter, but I did add that layer, the lining on the bottom part. So that adds extra weight, but it's all good. Some more noise. I don't have to serge the pockets, but I like to. I'm stitching along that. Noticed I forgot to mark a spot. Okay, one pocket piece down. Okay. Keep coming back to this piece. Oh yeah. Like, I could definitely use a good exercise routine. But why would I want to waste my time exercising? Seriously. Exercising is so overrated. Need a sketch bag? Nah. And it wasn't catching much because I wasn't surging off much. It's just a little minuscule. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it off now. I had to think of what I needed to do, and that was to unplug it. Okay. So I'm just going to scooch that back there. I'm going to move this over here. And I don't want to use black. Well, this is like a dark charcoal. So I got to decide what color I want to use. I have a million threads. It shouldn't take me that long to decide. I could use white. I could use a variegated thread. I just have to get the thread that I want to use because it's all back here. So just give me a moment. All right, guys, sorry about that. So I wanted to kind of grab my threads that I'm going to be using. I kind of got to decide which one I want to use. Hi, Jenren. So these are all 100% cotton threads. These ones are spools of variegated that I got. But that doesn't look like it would be a good color. It's like a green. This one looks a little bright. So like my kids are all playing on the computer right now. The 3 that are home. My 13-year-old went to his cousin's house with my sister. So I kind of let my kids like play on the computer and stuff. So I have like all these like threads that I got from Hobby Lobby. But they were such a good deal. They were like $2.74 for the spool. And so I kind of went crazy and I bought like almost every single collar that they had. I know, that was craziness. So yeah, I saw part of Daisy doing her paper piecing. She does a marvelous job with those. Like her cathedral one that she did was beautiful. I don't know. What color of thread should I use for this? Like, it really doesn't matter because I'm not really top stitching much of it except for the pocket pieces. But like I have a pink one here that has some greens in it. I know. I have quite the collection of thread. Sometimes I don't know when to stop. I have this green one that has some pinks in it. Or, because I kind of want to use a variegated thread for this. I have a green and a green one. It doesn't have any whites in it. I have this other multicolored one that has some green tints in it. I'm a thread collector. I'm a collector of everything, seriously. And I needed all the collars. And this is just a small portion of threads that I have. Like, I have more threads. Like, I have embroidery threads, too. Like, I even have this one that has some green tints in it. Yeah, I have to have them in every size, shape, and color. Exactly. I saw all these collars and they were, kind of on sale. I don't know. Let's set it down here. I think either this one or this one. Which one do you guys think?